man, look at this schedule. Why do they do this? Does management have to schedule interviews for all the different departments on the same day? 1 million people are going to walk through that door today, all looking for jobs. What a way to start the week. It should be interesting, though, to see the variety of people who apply, especially what everyone wears. Unfortunately, many won't know the proper way to dress when looking for a job. Well, it's 9 a.m. Here they come. May I help you?
I have a 9 o'clock appointment with Mr. Charleston, head of the warehouse department.
Yes, please fill out this application, attach your resume to it, and I'll let Mr. Charleston know you're here as soon as the paperwork is complete.
Thanks.
He's applying for a job in the warehouse, but he doesn't look like he's ready for an interview to me. Hasn't he washed his hair in a week? Look at those nails. His hands are so greasy. Ooh. He must have been working on his car this morning, but why didn't he take the time to wash his hands? I've been here enough years to know Mr. Charleston won't be too impressed with this guy. He likes employees to look neat. There is just no excuse for lack of grooming. At least Mr. Charleston would know up front what this guy is like. Whoa, what does this lady plan to do here today, dressed like that? Go on a picnic?
May I help you?
Yeah, I understand there are some openings here in the office, and I'd like to apply.
Would you please fill this out and attach your resume? You'll then need to speak with Mrs. Taylor, head of office personnel.
An interview? I'm not dressed for an interview.
You got that right, sister.
Well, it does appear Mrs. Taylor has a very full schedule of appointments today, but she does have an opening this morning. If you're interested in the administrative assistant position for the office, you'll really need to talk to her today.
Maybe she'd understand.
Right, I can hear it now.
Thanks for seeing me, Mrs. Taylor. I'm sorry to be so casual for this interview, but I didn't take the time to dress correctly. But be assured this will never happen again because I understand what a huge mistake I'm making right now.
What is she thinking? Doesn't she realize that anytime you go to a company, no matter the reason, you always dress appropriately, just in case you meet someone who could influence whether or not you're hired? She should be dressed in the type of clothes she would wear on the job. For the office assistant position, she should be dressed in a nice skirt, blouse, and perhaps even a jacket. Or she could wear a nice pair of slacks with a blouse and a jacket. The way she's dressed now, she obviously doesn't care about the job. Mrs. Taylor is going to get that message loud and clear. It's so important to dress appropriately and look your best.
Thank you. I'll tell Mr. Charleston you're here. Mr. Charleston, Mr. Arkin is here to see you about the warehouse maintenance position. He'll be right with you.
This guy obviously doesn't want to get hired. He doesn't seem to understand that appearance is a big part of making a good impression on a prospective employer. He looks like a mess. Oh, no. His application is also a mess. It looks atrocious. Look at the chicken scratches and the mistakes. And his resume. He doesn't even know how to put together a neat, complete resume. He has misspelled words and the margins aren't even lined up. Well, good luck to you, buddy.
Adam, Mr. Charleston will see you now.
This way, Adam. We'll meet in my office down the hall.
May I help you?
I'm Cecil Carter. I have an appointment to see Mr. Lau concerning an opening in your construction division. I'm applying for the bricklayer job.
Yes, Mr. Carter, I see you do. Could you please fill out this application, and I'll tell Mr. Lyle you're here.
Thank you.
Now this guy knows what he's doing. He looks really neat in appearance. His outfit may not be what he'd actually wear on a construction job, such as jeans, a sweatshirt, and work boots, but it is appropriate for a job interview. If what you'd actually wear on the job isn't appropriate for a job interview, it's always better to overdress just a little for the interview. He looks well-groomed, has a nice presentation, and speaks clearly and confidently. These qualities will allow Mr. Lyle to concentrate on why he's qualified for the job, rather than being distracted by a bad appearance.
I'll tell Mrs. Taylor you're here.
Yeah, sure.
Mrs. Taylor, Ms. Betsy Bratton is here to interview for the office assistant position. She says she'll be right out. Please have a seat.
Oh, yeah, that makes a good impression. I know Mrs. Taylor will appreciate that gum chewing during the interview. I see so many people come through here looking for jobs, and so many don't seem to realize how important that first impression is. Unfortunately, without a favorable appearance, a person's chance of getting hired drops substantially.
Ms. Bratton, Mrs. Taylor will see you now. Please come this way.
I bet that'll be a short interview. Don't people realize that employers have certain expectations during the interview, and looking like a neat, responsible, intelligent individual is part of the process? I've seen it hundreds of times. Applicants not looking presentable for interviews. They weren't neat. They didn't have clean clothes or good grooming habits. They weren't dressed appropriately for the job. Or maybe they didn't have a neat application or resume. These are all simple things, obvious things, but I guess it's not obvious for some.
Thank you for coming by, Adam. We'll be in touch. Well, I'm sure he's not right for us. A bad appearance implies a bad attitude, and I don't care attitude. If he's so careless about his appearance, imagine how careless he'd be about his work. It's a shame.
Wow, only 10 o'clock. It's gonna be a long day. They're really starting to back up in here. There are so many people wanting to apply for these jobs. It's a shame, though. By looking at them, it seems most of them are taking themselves out of the running simply because they didn't think their appearance was an important part of the job search. Look at that girl. What's she applying for? Prom queen? She obviously doesn't know that really fancy clothes aren't appropriate for the interviewing process. I know she wants to look nice, but for the warehouse receptionist job, a skirt and a blouse or a dress would be more appropriate. Her flashy clothes are going to distract Mr. Charleston during the interview, and I'm afraid her fancy appearance will ultimately cost her the job. That much